Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Assalamualaikum.
You notice I can't talk, so I'll be listening in.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
My apologies. I had to step away for a
Assalamu alaikum.
minute.
It's
So,
okay.
all right. I think I heard Adam say that either his voice is gone or he's going to be listening in, but not able to talk much this morning.
Yeah,
A
that's
little bit of both.
Okay.
It comes and it goes.
See, and we're all under the impression that accountants don't talk much. They're bent over looking at numbers all day. So don't tell me you're under the weather. Are you under the weather?
I'm still working.
Okay. All right.
I just have to get all the clients they feel sorry for me. Oh, well, so bad. When you gonna get my return done? When you gonna get my return done? That's all they worried about.
Rabani, is that you back there with an M1 rifle? Think target practice on some KKK dudes or something?
yeah. I got to keep sharp, man. That's all. Anytime they fire a general, I guess how does a uh, almost like a what they call it the weekend warrior
Yeah,
fire a general
that's
a
uh
drunk?
that's a that's the mistakes that we make. We as a country
Hey,
made major mistakes. And now we have the children in the sandbox
mm,
running the
mm, mm,
country. And
mm, mm.
if the tower the child is building in the sandbox falls
Yes, sir. That's
over,
another man.
then they throw a tantrum.
Making us doing good.
So that's what's happening. Iran is a sandbox, and everything that the president and the secretary of war, everything
Mm,
that they have attempted to do to bring a quick resolution to that situation has failed.
mm,
And they're throwing a tantrum. If you throw a tantrum, you're going to throw a baby's going to throw the spoon and the whole bowl of cereal at their parent, push it off the little
mm,
tray onto the floor, right?
mm,
This is
mm,
what
mm,
happens. They're children.
mhm,
So, I mean, it's no surprise. The child is not going to point the finger back at themselves and say, I'm the problem. The child is going to be mad at the parents, mad at the house, mad at the siblings, mad at the sun coming through the window, everything.
mm,
Everything's a problem except the child.
mm.
So here we are.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's what we get. It's what we get for not being serious people. You know, I mean, that's what we get for not being serious people as a country. I'm not talking about individuals. As a country, we're not serious people.
Yeah.
We're very insulated. We're very well fed. We're very well protected. We don't have to be we don't have to be serious people. And this is what we get. Anyway, Imam Tariq, will you open this up officially this morning?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
I mean,
I mean, so just a few minutes ago, I sent an email out. Everybody should have gotten it. Since Patricia, you didn't, because I sent it to just the regular, but I'll send it to you now. And it's not anything huge. It's just one of the announcements that came out at the end of the year from NCUA on a new credit union that was chartered in the Bay Area, I think Santa Clara, California. And it's just it's a little blurb, but it kind of gives a little insight into that credit union, those people who put it together, the ideas, what they're going to try to do for the people there, how many people that they're serving. It doesn't obviously it doesn't show their application of the language they use in their application or anything of that nature, which would have been great, because they're a multiple common bond credit union. I think if I remember correctly, I'm not looking at the email right now. It's like 300,000 people that they're looking to serve in an underserved area of one of the wealthiest parts of the United States. But obviously there are pockets even in that area, Santa Clara, Berkeley, Oakland, San Francisco, Silicon Valley. That's that area. There are obviously,
Hmm.
pockets of poverty or underserved people there as far as banking goes, that they were able to get their charter done. I think December 5th or 6th, somewhere in there, it says that date, latter part of last year. So just a little, it was the third. So I remember us talking to a consultant, a credit union consultant. And at the time we talked to him, that may have been September, October when we talked to him. There had been one credit union chartered in 2025. So there were two more that were chartered after we spoke with the consultant. So three in the United States, three credit unions were chartered in 2025. The other thing, and I think I sent this before, I think there were two emails, was just comments on 6 credit unions that failed in 2025. And there's like a paragraph apiece on all 6 of those credit unions with just some little notes on what their problems were. So I thought that would also be instructive as to the types of issues that credit unions, especially young credit unions, because I think one of them closed within 6 months of opening. It only was open for 6 months
Hmm.
and shut down. And again, I'm not looking at that email, but the problems that they had, and the first thing that came when I saw the name of the credit union,
Yeah, it was Soul Community.
yeah, I was reminded of what my mother used to say. My mother would be watching the news, and the newscaster would say something about somebody being shot and killed. And the first thing my mother would say, "Ooh, Lord, I hope the shooter wasn't a black person."
Hmm.
So when I saw
Yeah,
when I
Soul Community down in Georgia.
right, so first thing when I saw Soul, man, I hope that's not a black-owned credit union. That's the first thought that came to my mind, but it probably is,
But
being
let
named
me let,
Soul.
let, let me ease your conscience a bit,
Okay,
because the first one in the article,
yeah.
I'm glad to see. Uh,
Okay, do you know them? Do you know them?
Unilever.
Ah, okay.
That
Yeah, I
that's
remember that
um
name.
that's Dove, and they produce all of, well, not all, but they produce a lot of the black hair care product, hair care products that they market to black people, and
Mm,
they remain the driving force behind the failure of the Crown Act that you might
Okay.
be familiar with.
Yeah, I've heard you speak of it. That's my
Unilever funded the Crown Act that has been, I don't know, it's been, several states have passed legislation in favor, but we have been fighting them because we already set the standard for winning discriminatory lawsuits over hair grooming for Black people.
hmm
They come along, and every case that they file, they've lost
Hmm.
because they have not followed the prescription that we've set up when we won against Marriott, Hyatt Hotels, American Airlines, several police departments, even the armed services. All right, we had there's something online. They had a celebration at the Pentagon for my wife because she helped them to change the grooming standards for African American women enlisted in all of the armed services. Now, this white company comes along, convinces a few, Black women that they can help them fund these things. The Black women, of course, they push in all of Unilever's products, including the Dove line. And I mean, and they knew who we were. That's what makes it so bad. We were introduced to them through an email. My wife corresponded with them, and we've heard nothing in that had to be a good 3-4 years ago. We haven't heard nothing from them. And you got congresswomen up on Black congresswomen on Capitol Hill promoting it and pushing it, and they don't have the least idea what they're doing. They have messed this thing up and have set Black women back for decades because they keep losing these cases. They ain't won one case yet. Not one. So anyway, I'm glad they failed. But go ahead. I'm looking at some of the
No. That was that was all good to know. I'm just looking
Question.
at I opened the email again
yeah.
and just looking at some of the locations and
Yeah,
notes.
I just wanted to give you some balance
I hear
because
you.
you
Yeah, I
were right.
know.
I mean, soul community does sound like something we would do,
Right.
but Unilever gives me some comfort because I know who they are.
So I mean, I don't obviously we don't know any of these people, and I haven't had a chance to do any research. I would actually, if they're were amenable, I would love to even have a chance to talk to if there's a right-minded person or two who in Seoul Community Federal Credit Union, anybody affiliated, I would love to talk to them. And it doesn't have to be one of our meetings. I mean, I can do it offline, but just having seen this, I think I would love to have a conversation with them to just talk about their ideas. I mean, what were their beginning ideas? What was their experience of the process? Um, what could they have done better to maintain themselves? And obviously, this comment from NCUA Chair Todd Harper about business plans are overly optimistic. So, if that was the case, where was the optimism that he's scorning, and how did that get past NCUA to issue them a charter in the first place? You know,
Well, I've got a partial answer to that.
go ahead.
Well, and this is based on um, some similar figures, particularly when you're talking about uh, loans being given to minorities and minority institutions. If if you can believe, and I certainly do, that some of these institutions, NCUA being amongst them, Small Business Administration taking the lead, um, these institutions are willing to approve and lend money to individuals or companies that they know are going to fail so that they can tout that failure rate as a reason why they won't do anymore. If that makes sense. So,
It does.
and when you think about when you look at the situation that I find myself in with Graceline, and I'm going to just use myself as an example. I was attracted to Graceline because we are doing something that typically most in our community, and I'm talking about the broader African American community, certainly within the Muslim community, we don't do. But so this process that we're going through has always been attracted to me because, I have a penchant for wanting to go after things that people want to tell me, well, you can't do that. It's like I still have a desire one day to open up a restaurant because every time I tell someone I want to open up a restaurant, they want to quote to me the numbers of restaurants that fail. And my response to them is, well, if they keep failing, why do people keep opening them? What's wrong with them? Everybody's seeing the same numbers, yet there always seems to be this passion and desire that Allah has put into the inspirational spirit of the human being, where they just want to continue to try, even if they're going to fail. And who was it? Nelson Mandela. Wasn't he credited with saying, I never lose, or I never fail? I learn.
Right. Yeah. Something along
Some
those
quote
lines.
he
Right.
made something like that.
Yeah.
And it's true. My first legitimate business venture was a failure. It closed within 5 years. I was added to those statistics. And even though I got a $60,000 loan or no, it was more like a $60,000 grant from SBA, it wasn't until some years later that I learned I should have asked for 3-4 times that much. What
Right.
they gave me, $60,000, that's what I should have been asking for advertising alone. Okay, so these, NCUA type institutions chartering these credit unions, I believe they know they're going to fail. You can't use the excuse to me that the business plans were overly optimistic because you're the ones that approved them. You're the one. NCUA was the one that was overly optimistic that they could do this when when their data and the numbers should not have lied.
Okay. So I guess that's my point, because in our country, under our laws, you have to follow these pathways. If you're going to be a credit union, you got to go through NCUA. If you want to be a regular bank, you got to go through FDIC and so on and so forth, right? So these are the pathways to it. So when you're putting your business plan together, and obviously, the thing that was always pounded into my head was you start with your business model, not the plan, because the plan is just numbers. And what is it? The figures lie and liars figure, right? So it's the plan that usually gets people in trouble, where it's the business model that usually actually saves you, that really tells you how you're going to do business and who your customers are going to be and how you're going to satisfy them and so on and so forth, to actually have something that's sustainable, right? But these numbers that are in there about margins and things like that, I have to be honest with you, until I'm seeing some of these numbers that I just saw, that the national average is such, but they were only at like 1.94, where the national average is 4.36 or whatever. These numbers are new to me. I'm not in the banking game. That's not where I come from, of being a banker. But seeing these numbers now gives me some targets, that when I am looking at the data that we gather and the data that we're going to be putting into quote unquote plan, or looking at, what targets that we need to hit or be near or go past, right? Just like, what Imam Talib was saying about them giving him $60,000 when what he needed was $250,000, right? Is that if you're really using the numbers from the success model, and that's the other thing, look at the success model. These failures, the underlying numbers in these failures give you an idea of what true success looks like as well. They're putting that like in small print, but that's the numbers that you need to be paying attention to. Is, what does a successful credit union look like? What do those numbers look like? And now what do I have to do? Would say maybe a 15% cushion built in. So if it says I need to hit a 4.6% target, then maybe I got to build another 15% in there, because maybe my decision making, because I'm new to this, my decision making is not as good as somebody who's seasoned, or an institution that's seasoned. So I need a little buffer built in. And, my years of business tells me that 15% is a small buffer. I usually shoot for 20 to 25%, but it's a nonprofit, it's a credit union. 15% should suffice, that you're building over that. So that's just food for thought for all of us as we go through this process, and especially if we're going through and looking at existing credit unions to take control of looking at their situation and what their current numbers are, because believe it or not, we will have access to those numbers. If we're looking at those existing credit unions, we will actually have access to what their numbers are. And then you can really start to think and plan about what you need to do to improve or improve the bad numbers, sustain the good numbers, type of thing, right? So hopefully that little contribution, I got a wild hair, and started looking, because I spent part of the week just looking for credit unions that we might approach. Still haven't ID'd one that I'm confident would be right for us to approach from my perspective. And I hope other people maybe take a minute every now and then and also look at credit unions in the same way. I haven't put my finger on one that I want to tout or that I even want to make a phone call to yet. I'm not quite ready. But I have to say that I have a little bit more information after looking at these numbers, and I'll look at some more. I have a little bit better perspective on the types of questions I should be asking to show, to even interest these people in talking to me further, like I'm not just some country bumpkin making an idle phone call. Now I think I have a little bit more information to go on. So That is that part. I think you guys did get the second email now that on this new credit union that was chartered out in the Bay Area as well. And just again, it's not a ton of information, but it just kind of gives you an idea. Like they had the 5 things, 4 or 5 things that they had listed there that are their targets, what they want to do to serve this particular area, those 300,000 people, so on and so forth. And looking at that number, it made me think about our overall community and what our numbers are. What number are we going to use to show the number of people within our single common bond that we wish to serve on a national basis? And I was listening to probably about 20, 25 minutes of Study Al Islam this morning. And one of the brothers or one of the members of the educational initiative was on this morning, talking about, they're compiling this study program to be instituted, across the country in all our communities and schools and strong in schools and regular schools and Islamic education and so on and so forth. And talking about disseminating that around the country. And it brought back to mind, this pebble that's been in my shoe for 3 or 4 years about us not having really any idea of what our real numbers are that are supposed to be under the IWDM banner, so to speak. We don't have any idea. If anybody does, please share that information with me because inquiring minds want to know. I would like to know. I would like to be able to put a number or a close approximation on that, just for our purposes of credit union. We're a single common bond, and this is a community that we want to serve. I would like to know how many people are in that community. It would help to inform a lot of decisions early on and into the future that I would think that the board of directors of Graceline Federal Credit Union would want to know for expansion purposes and, how many young people are coming up in a particular area. A certain percentage of those people are going to stay in that area or others move around. But I mean, you need to know all these numbers. These, even grocery stores, grocery stores don't just go build anywhere. They do a demographic search. They know how many rooftops. They know how many people are living under those roofs, right? Before they put a grocery store in there, because they know what they need to be able to survive and thrive and be able to offer. No, Imam Talib. I've asked that question. We actually have, our southern section Imam Tariq, is on our board of directors here. And I promise you, Imam Tariq, can you give us today, could you even give us a head count as to the number of people that are in the southern section? He may have stepped away for a minute, but it's a discussion that he and I have had on a couple of occasions. Not a deep, long discussion, but no, it's something that he acknowledged to me before that we don't know. It's something that he actually is trying to pull together himself just for the southern section.
Well, wow. The best way to pull it together, I would think, and it might not be accurate in that regard, is to touch base with the individual communities in the section.
Yes, That's what
Right.
Imam Tariq was going to do
All right.
Right.
in his
But
section.
let
Right.
me say for the record, they might not know
Exactly.
because let's say at our masjid, and it's not a perfect example. We might have a core group, might have a core group of people that participate. Now, on any Friday, we might have 75 to 100 people that attend Juma,
Hmm.
but all of them are not in our community. You understand?
Right.
I remember when Imam Muhammad would come to North Carolina, like he would speak at Duke or one of the colleges, or he would speak at an event they might have in another city. And in North Carolina, attract Muslims from around the state, he might attract 300 or 400 people.
Hmm.
You understand? So that's the problem. And then this is a separate matter, but I was on the CWSC, the AM 3660 call yesterday,
Hmm.
and the proverbial discussion was, how do we attract our young people, right?
Right.
And it's just like pulling teeth. Then somebody said that a young person told her that they're not religious, they're spiritual.
Right.
I said, what the heck does that mean? But I know where they got the language from. They got the language from popular social media stuff. You understand? Now, if we have to ask ourselves, do we have something that we need to continue doing and promote? Are we doing anything right? And I haven't heard that question. Are we doing anything right? We're trying to build on top of something. And we might not have it all together as older Muslims. But is there anything that we can build upon? Or do we start all over following somebody that's spiritual and not religious or whatever? And I'm trying to find this lecture where Imam Muhammad spoke about spirituality. You understand?
Hmm.
Spirituality ain't gonna it's not gonna build a
Physical.
credit union.
Right.
It's not gonna build a community.
Right.
It's not gonna build anything. So why are we having this discussion?
Well, the only reason we have the discussion, and the only reason that young people, because I'm very aware of that term, it's used much more in the Christian or pseudo-Christian world than it is in the Islamic world, right? Because we have our spiritualists that have always been with us in the Islamic world. We just call them Sufis. We've always had them. In the Christian on the Christian side of things, because of the Germanic background of Christianity, which is very dour, spirituality was frowned upon because it actually made people too joyful. So they beat it down.
Well, it was held mainly by what they told us what our names was. They said we were spooks, right?
Well, yeah. But I mean, no, what I'm saying
So that's
is
why they're trying to stay
white
away from it
no
because
white people beat white people down. or I should say Anglo-Saxons beat Anglo-Saxons down because they wanted to suppress their own people. And remember, they were suppressing their own people before they ever fully started suppressing us. They just took it to another level when they started suppressing us. It has always been a part of the African culture to be close to and a part of nature. Always. You can go to any African country today, and it's still that expression is still there, no matter what faith these people say that they follow, whether they're Islamic, whether they're Christian, whatever branch of Christianity, whatever. They still have that connection to the sky and the sun and the moon and the earth and the animal life and all of those things is still there. There's still that spiritual connection that we find in the Native Americans of the United States. It's that stuff is still there. What we have to guard against, and I think what Imam W.D. Muhammad was talking about is that you actually have to, you don't want to kill that, but you have to put it in its place. And the Quran helps you to have a more constructive view of every aspect of life, and a practical approach, or pragmatic approach, maybe is a better term, to every aspect of life, of the constructive things that you do to make that life complete without killing your spiritual connection, that which brings you joy, that which brings you some emotional solace or whatever, but putting that part of it in its place. I think that the things that we are doing and have done, say over the last 50 plus years, there's nothing wrong with the things that we're doing. And as far as our young people, it's simply a realization that, number one, that the competition for their minds, especially, is simply a lot fiercer now than, say, it was 20, 25 years ago. There's simply more competition for their mind. And that we have to realize that there's more competition for their mind, and really and truly not be, we can't allow ourselves to be demoralized that we're not winning them so easily. You have to stay the course. Obviously, you always reevaluate everything that you do and the methodologies that you use and all those things and language that you use, whatever. But I don't find any error in the things that we do. There's just a realization this war is a lot more sophisticated than it used to be. Second thing is that you have to take those same young people that you shake your head at and wonder where their head is at, and you have to bring them into roles of responsibility. And that doesn't mean that you abdicate. It doesn't mean that you walk away, throw the keys to them and say it's yours and walk away. No, it's a mentor-mentee mentality, is that you're going to walk with them, is that you're going to involve them fully in every decision, and that you're going to actually put them in positions where they feel that they have a true say and they have some authority and they're recognized, and you simply work with them while at the same time learning from them, because there are things that they know because of the period and time and history that they've been raised up, Some of it has to do with technology. That's what we talk about most of the time. But some of it is simply thought, a different way of looking at things, but getting to the same place that we would want to go. They just come at the problem differently. But if you're not engaging with them, where they're learning from you and you're learning from them, and you're both learning to appreciate each other, that frustration, that friction destroys a relationship and retards it. If they have a pure heart, if they have a good heart, they're eventually going to come back. But you may have lost a decade where they could have been growing and learning and becoming familiar with running an organization, of being a full member of a community, of taking appreciation in different things happening in that community and being a part of it. That's the way I look at it with my two sons. They don't do things the way I did it. They don't do things the way I do them. But if you sat us down in a room, our goals are exactly the same. And the result that we want is the same. We just look at the problem differently because our ages are different. Our experiences are different.
I disagree with making that a blanket statement with all young people. How do they know their goals are the same?
No, you have to talk with them
I know, but that's what I'm saying.
so that you know what their goals are. And
Well,
also you
I
have to
can agree
express
with that,
your
but
goals to them.
How do they know their goals are the same? That's all I'm asking.
Well, if they're in the same room.
That don't mean nothing.
No. If my two sons who are different in age are in the room with me and they're both talking about their goals and what they think is important, we have a chance to flesh that out. And if there's a flaw in their thinking, we have a chance to dig a little bit deeper. So if there is a flaw in their thinking, they can have their aha moment and go, okay. Now, dad, or now, brother, I understand what you're saying. And I can see the error in my thought. So what you're telling me is, and then you can extrapolate and you can clean all that stuff up. If you're not willing to listen, if you're not willing to engage them and listen to them fully, they'll go back to looking at their phone.
But see, I never said I wasn't willing to engage or listen to them. That's the first misconception. That never came from my mouth.
No, I wasn't talking about you. I was
I know,
talking about
but I'm
me.
saying I talk with young brothers all the time at the masjid. You understand? And in my discussing with them and trying to get them to help. All right, because they already come in with this external thought that it's the Nation of Islam. They're not whatever. Yeah, they have to go through all that garbage, right? And but we're trying to get them to help. We have a masjid community. Got a building, yeah, and all those things. And they need me, and we're trying to get them to help. So my question is, why aren't you helping? Because there's some external influence out there that have said they're not truly Muslim because they might even go to say they worship Imam Muhammad. It's crazy.
Yes, I've heard that.
Oh, it's going around there a lot.
Oh
Social media
yeah,
and
that
everything.
is. That's one of the
So
things. That's one of the battles, right? Isn't that's one of the wars that we're fighting?
that's what I'm trying to kill.
Right. So how about the question of say if you want to build something. You want to add on to the masjid, you want to build a school, you want to do whatever. And you're talking to these young brothers and sisters, I hope sisters are involved sometimes. And you ask the questions. How would you go about solving this problem? Or how would you go about creating the plan for building an addition onto the masjid or whatever? And allow them to tell you what their plan of action would be, and then ask them to put that plan together so that you can see it as a whole. And it doesn't have to be the whole blown out 70-page deal, but have them put together a 10 to 15-page executive summary of how they would go about doing something. And then they'd be able to explain it to you. And have that discussed the same way that they would have to do it if they worked at IBM or Unilever or wherever, right? Is involved in, well, no, involve them. Now, if somebody doesn't want to do that, if they're not willing to make the investment to do that, and all they want to do is bump their gums, but they don't want to put anything in, then wouldn't you just make the decision that brother or sister, right now, they're just not ready? I'll talk to them again when they're ready. And you deal with the ones who are willing to at least make that step. Because otherwise you're misusing your time in dealing with people who, again, are not serious-minded people. They just want to have an argument.
Well, they're not even arguing, brother. And they're not around to help.
Then you're truly wasting your time.
Exactly.
Right. I mean,
now
if you're not present, you can't do anything.
Well,
you can't even hand a brother a shovel. If you're not there to do, not even hand a brother a shovel so that brother can work, you are useless. I love you, but I don't have time for you. You are useless. You can't even hand me the shovel so I can go to work. You're useless. Right? And I'm not trying to be mean when I say that about people, because I love them all. But why am I wasting my time with somebody who doesn't even want to be there to cheer me on while I work? Won't even hand me a cup of water.
Right.
When I'm sweating. Why am I wasting my time with that person? I don't need them. I love them. I don't need them. And if they want to go do whatever, they want to go claim they're Hanafi or Wahhabi or whatever, man, God bless you, brother. Go do you. I don't need you. I just don't. And I may not say that in words, but I'm happy when they walk out the room. Because now with them gone, I might be able to get something accomplished. Addition by subtraction is a real thing in the real world.
Well, how about this then? Excuse me, man. I'm telling you, my throat is gone. I talk too much.
You're talking too much now.
I can't help it. But how about this? We're on the line and we're having this long discussion. And maybe the young people they're talking about might be the ones that don't have any clue. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
As though that's going to be the solution to our situation. I know in my master, the master I attend, That isn't the problem. I lost you. We lost a young brother or sister when you said write a 10-page synopsis. You, you just lost them. All right. So, but it's real, and every community should take its own assessment and be real about it. If it's not a problem in your community, why deal with it in that way?
Mhm.
That's all.
Yeah, no, I 100%. I get you. I get what you're saying. At the risk of scaring people, because my God, if you're around me and my son sometimes, and you don't know the dynamics, you might want to leave the room because we will get down and dirty, and there will be some loud talk going on, and we love each other to death, but we are going to cut through it and get down to the nitty gritty and figure out which direction we're going and how we're going to do things. It's going to happen. And it's uncomfortable for people who don't understand that process of iron truly sharpening iron. It gets hot and blades are sharp. You don't truly love each other and you don't truly want the best for each other, you're not going to be in that room. And beatitudes, oh alhamdulillah, you know, astaghfirullah, yeah, whatever. When you need to be stopping somebody cold in their tracks and really getting in their face and asking, why are you doing the things that you're doing? Why do you think we should do this? And that's not all the time, but there are times for that. And when we're dealing with younger people in today's world, with the distractions that are there on every front, there are times that we need to check them in the best kind of way to understand what their thinking is, what their direction is, the whys of their life. And in our masjid, we both have to do that at the same time that we're putting an arm around their shoulder and we're pulling them into the decision-making circle so that they understand how we make cheese. They need to know. And in little pockets of their life, they need to become very serious. And it's my contention, and trust me, I can be as wrong as anybody about things and will readily admit it when it's brought to my face. When we're talking about our individual communities, and we're talking about this faith, Al-Islam, these are joyful but serious matters. It's not a heavy weight on my shoulders, but it's a very serious thing that I will readily wade into it, long sword and short sword, full body armor, ready to go with a smile on my face. Because you have to do everything you possibly can to make sure that you stay on the right path. for your community. It's important. And we need to bring our younger people who are willing into that whole process so that they can get grounded, they can have knowledge of how communication works, of how Shurabanium actually works, what are the workings of that, what it sounds like in real life, not what it sounds like when everybody's talking about, oh, we should have Shurabanium. Shurabanium is down and dirty. Right? You pull the sheets off, you can see everything. And when it's over, you got 3 days to get over your pain and love your brother and sister again fully. I believe that's the number. You can't stay mad for more than 3 days. But our younger people need to understand this. They need to understand what the body, and most of you have been on this dean longer than me. And I'm talking about under the guidance of Imam David Muhammad, everything that he left us. There needs to be an understanding of what that is in its uniqueness, apart from these other paths about Islam. They need to understand the nuance, the small differences. They're not huge differences. Still have the 5 pillars and all that, but they need to understand why we do what we do, and why that foundation is the path to our ultimate success in our taking our proper role. They need to understand that. And yeah, for some of them, it's going to be a decision whether to stay that path, or whether to go follow something else. That's okay. Lots of rivers you row your boat on. But we need people that have an understanding of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and the fact that it's not complete. And that you need people who are serious to be a part of it and to help us sustain what we have while we build bigger and better and get closer to what the ultimate. Say if Imam David Muhammad was alive today, 17, almost 18 years since his transition, where would his mind be 17, 18 years from that? Would he be in the same place? I doubt it. Was he in the same place in 08 that he was in 95? I don't think so. There's a growth and extrapolation that goes on. There's an evolution. And you have to have that next generation and the generation after them fully grounded and indoctrinated with an understanding so that evolution continues. So that you just start eliminating holes in your game. There's no holes in your game. There's no path for somebody to penetrate and poison what you're doing. And I know I'm talking a lot, but this is also about us at the credit union of making sure that as we go through this evolution of getting to the point of actually being chartered, that we eliminate as many holes in our game as possible. That we have a true understanding of the people that we're going to serve, what their needs are, present and future, so that we are anticipating and planning for all of those things in communities all across this country and in the Caribbean where we have growing populations. So we're headed now. And we're going to have younger people come in and be board members and advisory members and trained to be board members and all of that to be able to sustain the credit union and to sustain Graceline Community. If they don't understand, if there's a 35-year-old out there right now today who doesn't understand what Graceline Community is all about and where we see our future, that vision, what happens when all of us have to step away? I mean, we're all spring chickens right now, but eventually we're not going to be spring chickens. So this is all of our community as a grasp in this is me again. This is me singly. Anybody want to throw stones at me. All of our community has to work hard to bring those people into the tent and give them a role or start training them so that they can have a role. That's it. We become mentors. And we know we're needed. We know we're needed. We know we're needed as mentors.
When I first became in this community back in 1972, I came and volunteered. Because I wanted the mission that was in place to make it. So it wasn't like it was a magical thought. I came and said I want help. So I guess that mentality is gone. Is that right? Is that what we're saying?
What I would say is this, is that in 1972, there were 99 choices for a brother or sister that wanted to be involved in the movement of advancing African American life and culture and all that thing in the United States of America. And the Nation of Islam was one of the very visible choices of that 99. Proud history. It was very visible. You could go to Nation of Islam. Maybe you could go work at NAACP doing something in a local chapter of NAACP, or there were all kinds of different little organizations out there that you could be a part of that were going to capture you, that you could pour yourself into. A lot of people chose the Nation. That was 72. There was 99. Now there's 999 different choices, little pockets. And that is on top of all the social distortion that's out there in culture. All the things that capture 5 minutes here, 17 minutes there, 67 minutes there of your mind and your time. If you're under the age of 60, maybe 55. Out there to trap your attention, trap your spirit, trap your energy. It's a war zone. of your mind. Everybody's after your mind. And a lot of these young people are not equipped to deal with that war zone. They just don't have the equipment to deal with it. Their phones ping 700 plus times a day. In mid-sentence, their phone pings and they gotta look away from the person they're talking to look at their phone to see what that little message was. It may only be 3 seconds. But if you know anything about the human mind, getting yourself back on track to where you were in that conversation or that thought or anything like that, that disruption is major. We're battling that. So to expect them to handle all of that is we're foolish if we expect them to handle that well. So our ability to be patient with them, our ability to be more focused than they are, it's an imperative that we stay on course in working with them, more so even than we expect them to stay on course with learning from us. We seriously have to be the better person in that whole process of getting them closer to being on track. Let's say if they're professing our faith of following the dean, because it's a slippery slope on both sides. They make one misstep left or right, and they're down on their knees, and we got to help them back up and get them on the straight path again. There, there are many, many more ways for them to slip up today than 40 something years ago, 50 something years ago, wow, over 50 years ago. It's just more treacherous. So we know that. They don't. So we have to be better guides. And being a better guide, sometimes we have to have more patience than the wise man of Surah Al-Kahf. We've got to give them more than 3 chances before we dismiss them. We have to be better than that wise man as far as patience goes. Because they are going to make mistakes. And they're going to make mistakes even in the masjid. They're going to make mistakes on boards that you put them on. They're going to make mistakes that we brought them. And when I say mistakes, I'm not saying that they take the organization or the community off course. I'm saying that they're gonna make a proposal that is going to make you think they don't have a brain. They're going to say something that makes you think I can't send this person out to make a presentation to anybody. And you're going to have to be very patient with them. And you're going to have to very slowly bring them in fully. So they have an understanding. I have a son who's about to be 39 years old. He's literally one of the smartest people I've ever known in my life. He's a PhD. He's been a college professor now for over 10 years. Got his PhD at age 27. He's never done anything except A's, whatever kind of grade, 4.35 on a 4-point scale through college, PhD program. This child, and again, he's 39 years old when he's my child, about to be 39. This child will say some things that will make his mother run and pull the sheets over her head. He will do some things publicly, make statements publicly that makes you wonder who raised him. And we're not talking about things that are harmful in nature. They're things that are simply outside of the beliefs of his mother and father. Now, I will tell you this, that over the last 10 years, those statements get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller because the discussions that have been had and the life that's been lived has gotten broader and broader and broader and broader. He's lived more life. The discussions he's had with his parents have gotten even broader. And his thoughts have always been appreciated, listened to, all of those things, but it's also taught him to listen. And over a period of time, he's gotten closer and closer and closer to what his parents would think it is an ideal way of thinking, an ideal way of problem solving, an ideal direction in life. Those type of things. That's from our judgment. Somebody else on the outside looking in may say maybe there's a bigger problem now than there was. I liked him better than before. Y'all kind of narrowed his thinking and got him closer to the mustaqim, whatever. But that's what we don't expect our Islamic children to have the exact same perspective and life pattern as the Hindu child. We don't expect it. We have a way that we have accepted and that we love of a pattern of life that we want to follow and that we want to have our offspring follow, that we want to have other believers follow and their offspring follow, and so on and so forth. That's us. That's what we want. And we can appreciate that Hindus and the Buddhists, Catholics, Protestants, and whoever, we can appreciate all of them. But we have to put patterns in place that allow us to very slowly raise our own in the way that we want. And we can't do that if we're not including them and incorporating them in everything that we do. We have to do it. And I think all of us, Adam, are saying the same thing. You're making efforts. Imam Talib is making efforts. I know Rabbani makes an effort. I know Imam Tariq makes an effort. And everybody else that comes on here makes that effort. We just have to continue doing it. And, possibly even a Graceline community is that we may need to do more outreach of bringing those individuals in and trying to sustain their involvement when they do come in, so that we have that influence over them, that they can learn from us, and very possibly we learn some things from them too. That's all I'm saying. And I'm done with my sermon for the day.
Okay, I'm gonna try to give my sermon. I'm not I'm definitely not a speaker, but I'm gonna try to give the best that I can give. And just the idea of uh, the progress that we've made uh, under the leadership of Imam Muhammad. Um, it's everybody has different concerns and everyone has different values. So I know for myself, and I think that's how we all can, actually give the best that we can give about our own self. I know for 13 years I volunteered with the prison industry with the Muslims. And it's been over 20 years that and we know that part for true. The Salafi movement came into the prisons when I guess the elevation or the ascension, we can use that term, of the people that was coming out of the Nation of Islam and coming into, um, under the leadership of Imam Muhammad. So the prisons was getting less filled with that type of mentality as the Nation of Islam. So the Salafi movement took over with young people. Now I'm only speaking from Philadelphia that I know about Philadelphia. So and I'm making go from that point to right now. That's 13 years I volunteered there. For the last 8 years, I've been over at the Juvenile Justice Center here in Philadelphia, dealing with the youth there under a Christian chaplain. No Islamic chaplains or none of that, nothing for them. So everything is done under the Christian concept, other than the fact that I'm coming in and I'm volunteering. Now, I say it because just last night, which my concern is economic. That's my concern, because I know that until the inner city children per se or youth, most of them we know that they've been challenged and being targeted. So they don't have access to opportunities for legitimate wealth and stuff like that. They don't have that. So majority of them that go to the juvenile justice centers, in and out until they turn that 18. Soon as they release, they only go right back out and do the exact same thing because they don't have no way of making money that they know of. So now I'm saying that, and I'm cut all this into the fact that like you said, we only got about 18 years since Imam Muhammad passed. But everything that was trying to be done, even under his leadership, if we look at the things that were supposed to be done, we were all giving monies to certain things, and we don't see no real results of those things. So there's a lot of stuff a lot of people that were just there, and they didn't really give a serious, I would say. Many of them did, but some didn't. So I think that when we say now, trying to find out, well, what our community, we don't even know our community. And I say that, and I'm talking about myself right here in Philadelphia. I don't know my community. I can go to my masjid and, I don't even really want to go, to be truthful. I go and pray and, I'll try to support. But it's not the same community that I knew, I'll just say 10 years ago. It's not the same community. And again, as most of us know, that in the masjid on a Friday, you may get a whole lot of people. But come back Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday and see who come out for Goa prayer or anything like that. So I know from my up and from Philadelphia, from the masjid, Philadelphia masjid, that I was attending because I'm closer to it. It's not. We don't have the imam that used to be under Imam Muhammad. So we don't have those type of things. we don't. If right now, if I said, if you ask me, well, how many um you people that are in your community or in the community that you attend or under Imam Muhammad's community, it's nowhere in the world I could tell you that. If I start trying to name people that I know, I might could name 25, 30 people that I know, that still seem like they still got that spirit and they have the concern, they're trying to help, so then we got to take in, I think from all that saying back to the trans uh I like the term now, the ascension that we were making. We had to work on ourselves first. I mean, we couldn't, we already know the Quran says, do you invite people to good conduct and forget to practice yourself? So we had to work on ourselves. At the same time, we had ideas and concerns, but we don't, all I'm really get saying for real, just because I said I'm not a speaker, but for real, I don't think it's good that we want to know those type of things, how many people, what we can, but we don't know that. We are new people. We only, well, even if say we 18 years old, just say that. I mean, just say after the man done died 18 years ago. So, okay, all that's going to come about. I don't have no doubt that it's going to come about, but I think it's a natural process. If we start trying to push something, it's good. We should want to know, because again, you want to know, well, who am I, how many people do I got supporting me? We don't know, to be true. But look at us. And I say us, Graceline. How many people do we know, that we right now to say, well, we know we got uh, Imam so and so in Georgia, or over in so and so, we know they're gonna support us. They probably only trying to figure out who's gonna support them. You mean so we know it's just I think we kind of like we have good intentions, I'm sure, but I think that we have to just concentrate on what we're doing and just let things fall naturally because I know I can't. I know I'm not going to take the position myself to even try to find out and get that answer. How many people in my community or here in Philadelphia? Because and I'll be using my headache. Just trying to find that out because it's not that we don't know. So anyway, that's my sermon.
No, I, brother son, I would agree with you on the macro level that your individual community is fractionally important to your worship, right? I mean, you can go to a masjid on Friday, you can pray Jummah, you might want to go there for Talim, whatever day they have it. You involve yourself in individual things that happen in the community. If something's important to you, whether it's a school or whether it's a building project or whatever, I 100% understand that. And I would almost think that with all the other complexities of life, the things that people have to do, work and family and so on and so forth, that's understandable. That a person kind of takes that tack and that becomes their existence as far as the community is concerned. When I talk about Graceline, though, Graceline is, and especially the credit union effort, is an idea to serve the whole body. And it is more important for Graceline to have some idea of potentialities, not the 50 to 75 core people that probably show up in our average masjid that are there on a regular basis participating in the community. but all the potentialities of people who are ancillary to that community that you might only see or might only experience their presence 2 out of 4 Jumas, but they're always there for the Eid or whatever the case may be, that those particular people are also in that orbit of people that will become part of a credit union, who will open an account, and their children in the future. So this goes way beyond even our lifetimes that we're thinking about, or our lifetime of involvement say in the credit union effort. Because I don't expect to be doing this when I'm 80. And that's only a little bit over 10 years from now. So is there a 40-year-old now who's going to be 50 in 10 years ready to take my place? Or are there 2 or 3 ready to take my place? And if they take my place, what community are they going to be serving? Do they have any idea of the evolution of that community? Have I given them any information that says it was 70,000 and we tend to have larger families, so maybe by the time you're in a position to take over, it's 95, it's going to be 95,000 that you're going to be serving. Can I do any of that math? Do I have any idea? Do I have any idea 3 years from now, if we were granted a charter today, do I have any idea of potentialities of who I would be serving? Or am I doing everything on the fly? That I'm digging in my pockets every step to deal with a new situation that's coming up? Or can I plan? So when I'm talking about things of really understanding the breadth of our community, I'm kind of talking about Graceline. I'm talking about individual communities. So we need individual community support. But Graceline is designed to help the whole of the community. Everybody. That is a part of our community. Graceline is designed to help everybody. Today, and then the credit union is chartered, everybody have an opportunity to be helped by their credit union. Excuse me. So yeah, I would like to know for purposes of Graceline, not for personal purposes.
Yeah. Now, I understand what you're saying, um, but at the same time, I remember going back. I don't know if you. Well, I dealt with this. Well, I'm still with this brother name. He used to be with the Imam all the time. Imam Wali Bilal. Exact same concept. That about having this. Yeah, got this building now. We've been working on this building or trying to get 19 years, dealing with the city, trying to take the properties. And back then, it was an idea that we were going into this uh, marketing issue. I mean, it was because we knew who the people were. We knew who Imam Muhammad's people were, or supposed to have been at least. But we had an idea then. 19 years, well, I would say not even 19 years, but I would say what you're talking about now, begin to erode. We seen it as a going. If we were, in our mind, if 20 years ago we had got the plant up and running, the whole thing, it was for that was supposed to be the backbone, the support, but the community, period. That's what it was about. I'll say right after Imam Muhammad's death, you couldn't, you couldn't, things start changing. I put it like that. Things start changing. I think everybody started, all the imams and however, had to take and do for their own selves because, they didn't have, it was different when the imam was on the set. People could use his name or, however. But once that was gone, then you don't have what you're actually thinking that what you like to see is a big task. So and again I understand what you're saying. In my mind has always been this. Well, you already know. There's an answer. Either you have to put it out there. Yes, most cases you got to do something on your own. When whatever it is that you're thinking about, you want to know, you got to do it. I mean, you got to at least make an effort to see that it come about. Other than that, we're just talking per se. So now, for instance, when I told you, when I say, well, send me um, whatever information that I can do because I go online and try to make sure I'll send it to everybody on Facebook because I'm 82 years old. So I don't have the Instagram and all that type of stuff. But I'll find out who do have it. And I'll make sure that at least all the information get passed around to as many people as possible. That way it kind of, has less legwork for us. So if things can be done, I don't know. I guess we be talking about this. I don't even know. I know this. In order when you want something, you got to kind of try to do it yourself.
That's why Graceline exists. That's why we're all here.
Yeah,
Is that we're trying to do this ourselves.
I understand.
We're trying to create an edifice or an organization or institution. Maybe that's the best word. An institution, two institutions, Graceline Community and Graceline Federal Credit Union. Two institutions that are visible symbols and more than symbols of the vision that Imam W.D. Muhammad expressed to all of those who said they were his followers. And we're trying to do that in part because of something that you mentioned, is that the cult of personality around Imam W.D. Muhammad was what held the community together. And it seems to me, even though I didn't feel it, you expressed it. I've heard other people express it, that when he transitioned, that like a magician's spell, that connectivity, that togetherness vanished in a flash. He was gone. Like some of the songs say the dream lives on. Well, the dream lives on. But he has not been alive for almost 18 years to be the glue that kept everybody together working toward that dream. I'm of the belief, and I think people on this call are of the belief, that the creation of the credit union, the success of the credit union, can in some small part bring that back together as a visible symbol of what his dreams were, his vision for this community. Just one small part of it. Definitely not the whole, but one small part of it. We'll see. We'll see when we're chartered and open. We'll see how much of a magnet that is for pulling the body back together. You know, we'll see.
You know, you listen to the program. You said you listened to the program with the brother this morning.
Yes.
Now, remember him saying that um, what he was doing, or what what he was involved in, was putting that curriculum together that could be offered as a model for the community.
Right.
Now, you notice his thing was that it's just an offer, you know, because to be truthful, I'm not. He couldn't give no real numbers of the community.
And he said that.
I know because you can't do that. We Allah knows the community. We don't know the community. If we in the community, just what you said, just do what you do. Do what you
Yeah,
do.
but okay, that's brother. I'm gonna stop you right there and say this.
Okay.
That's perfect thinking. If you don't have a objective that doesn't require you to have more knowledge. If your objective is self, you're right on track. If your objective is to build something like a credit union that can sustain itself for generations, you have to have more knowledge. You have to have more information because it involves more than you. We if all we wanted to do was be Graceline Community and even do the financial education programs that we're doing right now, we just have to fine tune that. And whoever flows to it, wants to learn from it, so on and so forth, great. Doors open for anybody. Anybody, like to now we're charging $75. Sometimes it could be free. Maybe the next one's 125, whatever the case may be. Anybody that wants that information, come and get it. Anybody can sit at the table. That's great for that. When you're going to do a financial institution, real, legal, fiduciary rated financial institution, you got to have more information. And that's what we're trying to do. So whatever stones that have to be moved, and if there's a back way of doing it without our community involving itself, of doing the very simple work of counting heads, if the community doesn't want to do that, is unwilling to do that, incapable of doing that, I, for one, will find another way. But I do need that information because you can't properly plan for the success and sustainability of a financial institution unless you have that information. If you're saying that those are the people that you want to serve, and you don't even know how many people are in your household, you don't even know how many plates are set at the table. So who's going to be left out? Who's going to be disappointed if you set 8 plates when there are 15 people? So we as a body, we can't be laissez-faire. What will be will be. We have to do deeper planning. But that's a personal decision that we make as a group. And I'm saying that without taking a vote. I'm thinking that most of the people that are involved in pushing Graceline forward would probably be in some form of agreement with me that we need as much information as we can get so that when the opportunity lands in our lap, when we get the charter, that we're on track for success. And we're not like one of these 6 credit unions that was highlighted that failed in 2025.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is a whole lot for us to unpack. But I think I want to jump in here at the point that I'm feeling this conversation has come full circle, because it began, one of its beginnings was when it was said that there is a difference in a business plan and a business model. And now I'm hearing, now I just heard about these numbers that are needed in order to establish a business plan, which has at its core I think the word that was used was a fiduciary, responsibility.
Let me interject, and I'm gonna let you continue. 2 things. Number one, I wasn't talking about a business plan. I was literally talking about the business model. And number
Well, the
2,
business model,
mm-hmm.
the business model, in my opinion, is not for our community. Our motto is financing hope, changing lives, or
But
words.
in a single common bond credit
Right,
union. So the
right.
single
But
common bond,
I don't
that's
see
part of
that
your
single
model.
common bond being this community,
Well,
because
but that's what we have to sell. That's what we have to
this
sell,
has
though.
never been a community. Then we need to have that discussion, because I've
Okay.
never known this to be a community that fully supported even the vision of Imam W.D. Muhammad. And
I
I'll
agree
just
with
use
you.
myself as an example. He did all types of things to involve this community in international business, trade, bringing over shea butter, bringing over suits. What was it, MCOP, or one of those things that he established?
MCOP.
MCOP, where I supported that in spirit. I did not support it in dollars. Why? Because I had my own line of products and I had my own tailor. So I didn't need any suits. My suits were being tailor made. And so I did support it in spirit, but in actuality, in reality, putting my money behind it, investing my money in it, nope, didn't happen. And it didn't happen because each one of us on this call now, and at every community in which we have ever attended, each one of us came with our own individual experiences. And it's those experiences that Allah, who chose us to be Muslim, we didn't make that choice on our own. He made us Muslim. It was those experiences that we brought into the process. What we're suffering from right now is a lack of leadership. We don't, and I mean no offense to particularly any resident imam. This is not directed at you, Imam Tariq, or any other resident imam that I know, including the one in which, I follow now at Masjid Muhammad. We are lacking leadership, and it exposed itself again to me maybe 3 weeks ago. We had what is described, in most communities as a guest imam. And one of the things that I recognized in a crowded room with this guest imam, who I know spent some time in the federal penal institution, when he spoke, and I was sitting in one of the last rows, but when he spoke, I noticed the movements and the rapture of the young people that were in the room. And the young people I'm speaking of, I'm not speaking of those in their 30s and 40s. I'm speaking of those who were in their late teens and early 20s. He moved them. He was getting to them. And I believe that there are other imams who could be invited to the rostrum to speak that could also move that group of 30 and 40-year-olds that I hear us talking about. But because of the lack of leadership, because we come out of an environment of a sort of Christian community that I'm not going to let you get to my flock. I want them following me and not you. We can't, as a community, we can't advance. We're not pulling on the wisdom of those of us who have been through our individual processes that brought us to the table. We're not following the prescription in which al-Islam was built on. It was, and it was example after example that Allah gives us in Quran, that when Allah sent those messengers to these various regions of the world, the Thamuds, the people of Hud, when they were sent there, their collective response was, as they looked at the people who were following them, they were the lowest of the low. They were the most that were despised. And that's how this community, this al-Islam, began under the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The people that he won over, they were, in modern terms, stick-up boys. They were drug dealers. They were headhunters. There were people that would rather kill you than talk to you. Those became the ones who were the most loyal. Those are the ones that the Prophet ﷺ had to rein in, because as they were establishing their leadership amongst the Sahabas, their way of wanting to do business, like chopping off your head, was frowned on. And it was frowned on because the Prophet ﷺ, through the message of Quran, the one thing that is consistent throughout that book is patience and constancy. Those two things. And what I'm experiencing right now is patience. Because I believe that we are on the right path. I've got the utmost confidence in our youth because I was them. And there's a part of me that still remains that way. And it's because of that, when we talk about listening, I want to be able to listen, but I want to be able to filter what it is they're saying from my own life experiences. Because there was a point in time where I was where they are. And I don't want to forget that. There are things that each one of us bring to the table that we can contribute to this process, but it has to begin with our individual communities recognizing that we are all leaders, that we are all imams, and be given the opportunity to either lead or, they say, you either lead or get out of the way. One of the things that Imam W.D. Muhammad left us with is if you have a problem in your community, you don't stay there and continue to spread fitna in the community about things that you like or don't like. The Lord's earth is spacious. You step out there on your own, and you're going to see who it is that's going to follow you. Now, I'm at that point now because I clearly see that despite all of my best efforts, and I'm going to keep trying because I believe in this sabr, in this patience. But I'm beginning to see that whatever it is I want to bring to Masjid Muhammad is not supported. And I'm going to see. I'm going to keep providing them with the type of information that I think they're going to need and be patient enough to see how they respond to it. Unlike Edward, I don't want to give you any more than the 3 chances that Musa was given. And I say that only in the context of the scripture, that it was only those chances, the scuttling of the boat, the killing of the youth, the building back up of the wall. It was those 3 instances that Musa was given to exercise that patience. And each time, Musa promised that he wasn't going to say anything again. I want to stick with that formula. And I stick with it because there was a time when I first came into Al-Islam that I used to say to people just on the street, because I'm a new revert, convert, whatever it is you want to call me, that if you hadn't gotten the message by the time you were 33, it ain't going to come to you. Now, I was using 33 because that's when Isa ibn Maryam received revelation from Allah. His prophethood, in fact, no, let me change that. His prophethood came at 30, and it only lasted 3 years. That subscription changed when I learned Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not receive revelation until he was 40, and then continued to receive it over the next 20 some odd, over the next 24 years. Some say 23, some say 25. But the point is that my prescription for trying to reach these young people has changed. So it's not 30 any longer, it's now 40. And I want to give them that chance. And I want to give them that chance because I'm willing to assume some of the responsibility for failing to adequately reach them. I've done it in my own household, but that has not transformed into the larger community. And I'm looking for ways to be able to do that. And I'm sorry that I did not follow through on the program on Study al-Islam this morning. I do believe, I pray Allah remind me to listen to the re-recording, because I think Sister Fitra post those a week later. I want to go back and listen to it because one of the ways that I've been considering being able to reach these young people is through the educational process of a private school, and I'm trying to see how you establish a curriculum and what that curriculum can be based on, because I want to build off of my own experiences that gave me the foundation where after I finished ninth grade, I had no more use for any higher education. Because everything that I learned that I've put into practice today, still putting into practice today, I learned when I was in middle school. Because I actually had classes called life skills. And I took them very seriously because it was teaching me things that I wasn't getting fully at home, particularly when it came to finances, when it came to money. They helped me to establish, can you imagine a middle school that had its own bank? It was only for savings. I mean, they wasn't doing no loans or, giving you a loan to go buy a new bicycle or something like that. It was teaching you the value of saving. It was teaching you the value of how to write a check and what it means to fill out, what do they call that thing? The checkbook log, or whatever they give you, where you can keep up with your balance and be able to recognize that just because you have checks in your checkbook doesn't mean you've got money in the bank. And now, of course, we've got all these new financial things like credit cards that never existed for many of us coming up. That's another trap that they're into. So how do we incorporate all of this? What do you call it? All of this social media that's happening, so that we do get their attention. So one solution that I wrote down, and I'm going to pass this on to many of the brothers that I know that do this type of work with young people, is when you have these gatherings, find a system to collect their phones and give them back to them when it's over. They don't need them. I mean, in fact, I would submit to you, I don't know if any community does it, not just our community, but any community. We need a system that when people come in, we collect your phone. Because I can't tell you the number of times I've been sitting in Juma, the imam is literally giving the khutbah. First part, second part, it don't matter. I've seen people in between the two parts go look at their phone. What the hell is wrong with them? take the phone away. I'd certainly give up mine, or just leave it in the car. Make sure the door is locked. But you having to come into Juma, and the first thing they announce just before the imam is to stand up and give the greeting, so that the muezzin can make the second call. There's a brother that comes on the microphone and asks people to silence their phones, and everybody doesn't do it, because you hear a phone go off once, twice, 3 times during the khutbah, during the 2 rakahs of salat when the khutbah is finished. We keep accepting behavior that is not moving this community progressively forward. You don't like it? Go somewhere else. Get your monkey ass up out of here. We don't need you. Those are the people that we don't need. Those are the people that are holding us back. It ain't our young people.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Alhamdulillah.
Imam Talib, I just want to
Yes,
make
sir.
a
I'm
brief
sorry, sir.
comment.
This was not
No,
personal.
no.
Okay.
Keep your thought. Keep your thought. I have personally asked them when they do that, say, brother, and in the lifetime of the prophet, there was no distraction. If you want to see something that you feel more important on your cell phone, please get up and exit and go out. And if
Yep.
you don't want to, calling security in here, security will remove you.
Yep. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
can't tolerate that.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
We have where we have failed is having these sort of acceptable forms of, in fact, I'm gonna just call it what it is. What the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what Allah called it, is bid'ah. It's you coming up with all these new, like, innovations in al-Islam. That's a drag on us. And we just seem to be more and more accepting of it with these various types of behavior. The thing that we are missing, that I personally long for, is a branding. Our community lacks branding. We always knew the businesses that the Nation of Islam owned, because they all began with Shabazz. I don't care what kind of business you were in, there was a Shabazz Cleaners, a Shabazz Fish House, a Shabazz Bakery, a Shabazz Bar. You had that identity. When the Nation of Islam members showed up, they came with identity. In fact, they had 2 forms of identity. One was a suit and a bow tie, and the other was what, I think the Army calls dress blues. There was an FOI uniform. The suit and the bow tie, summer, winter, spring, fall, that was an identity. Now, Imam Muhammad came along and he kind of freed many of them from that. You look around in your community, the next Juma, the next Eid. Ain't no uniform. You can't tell one Muslim from another. And I've had Muslims to say to me, well, brother, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting in the harem, someone came and asked, who is this Muhammad? Because no one recognized him. That ain't working today. Not when you trying to get to people who could care less about, where Islam is more superficial to them. They are there because the prisons indoctrinated them to be there. We've got to keep working with these same people in hopes that Allah brings them around. Ain't nothing we gonna be able to do or say to change that behavior. But as long as they are there, as long as they show up, we need to be willing to address them. We need to be willing to take them under their wings. And I know their thinking is warped. But when I think back on it, so was mine. My thinking was just as warped as any one of them are today. And the only reason that they don't know it fully is because I have learned over time to be more fearful of exposing what my life was like, even similar to theirs, for fear that they're going to look at me and say, well, he turned out to be all right. Let me keep on doing what I'm doing. No, that ain't the right kind of thinking. But at the same time, what I'm also saying to us is they need to hear that message. They need to know that I was them without them getting all the details. They'll be able to see it. They'll be able to feel it because they ain't going to tell me all the bodies that they've dropped. They ain't going to expose that. They ain't, they smart enough not to do that. They smart enough not to tell me that they carry as we're talking. They ain't going to do that because they ain't got nothing to prove. But I want to keep working with them as best I can. And if I can't, I'm the one who's willing to support those in whatever way I can, including my money, if that's what they're doing. So I want to see us. I mean, I've learned, like Edward mentioned earlier, I've learned from that article that he sent about the 6 failures of the credit union. And I'm gonna close to get back to that, because this is why we meet every Sunday on behalf of the credit union. But there was language that was used in that article that I've never heard before. I never knew anything about a delinquency ratio. Now, I know what a delinquency is. I know what a delinquent is. I know what a ratio is. But I've never heard those 2 words used in the same sentence. I've never heard the 2 words used in the same sentence of net worth ratio. Now, I know what net worth is. I know what ratio is. But using them 2 words in the same sentence, never heard it before. So those are the types of things that I want to go back and investigate, because once I have that information in front of me, I'll have a better understanding of how we can avoid those lower numbers. And I want to put it in the context, because Allah says this, everything in creation grows. Even the mountains. We may not see it, but the mountains are growing. We see the trees growing. But everything in creation grows. Whether it's tangible or intangible, it's growing. And it's that growth and development that we're all going to need individually that's going to help move this credit union forward. Because I'm still on it. And Edward, I'm going to tell you, I think you are, a couple years younger than I am? I'll be 74 at the end of April.
Yeah, I'll be 70 in December of this year.
Okay. Brother Hassan has admitted to being 82.
I'm telling you, there's no way that man's 82. Something's wrong with that birth certificate. That man's got too much energy.
Yeah, but here's the deal. He's already in his 80s and he's still hitting a lick at that snake.
Exactly.
I anticipate that I'm going to, Allah will, I'm going to be 80 when we finally have had this credit union open for a couple of years.
I mean that.
So, and I'm going to remind us, and I'll close with this, of something Imam W.D. Muhammad said at Crampton Auditorium in Washington, D.C., when he was asked by a sister what the plan was to establish senior housing for our community. And Imam was honest enough to say, and I'm paraphrasing this now, he had no plan to establish any senior housing because he anticipated that his community was going to work till they couldn't work no more. That's what was called for in Quran. You ain't never read anything in Quran about retiring. The only hint that is given in Quran about retiring, if you want to even call it that, is when Allah speaks to the sisters as they age and come out of the possibility of marriage and things of this nature, that they are then allowed to remove their hijabs. That's the closest that I can find in Quran to anything having to do with older age, with retirement. Other than that, Allah talks about those of us who become a certain age having once known a lot, now we know little. But there's nothing in there that gives us even the permission of stopping to work fisabilillah, for Allah's pleasure. Ain't nothing in there for that. That's kind of what is keeping all of us going. I mean, Brother Hassan may not have said it, but he's the example of it. He's something for me to look towards. What, hell, I won't be, I mean, in my best effort, it'll be another, 8 years? I mean, I got something to look forward to. I want to follow his path. I want to be in the path of Al Mueddin at Masjid Muhammad, 90 years old. And he's still calling the Adhan in long notes. I mean, extremely long notes, not losing his breath. And he's 90. I mean, he's an example for me. I mean, I can't hold a note as long as he can. Now, he also happened to be a singer, so his lungs are kind of, like developed that way. I only pretended to be a singer. So that's how, that's called faking it till you can make it. So but listen, y'all, I mean, we have the errors that we've made, the error that I made was never showing that collective success. I was out there on my own, making money. I mean, Allah blessed me to be a success, but it was an individual success, not a collective one. Now it was a benefit, but listen, even that success I could not depend on the Islamic community to support me. They ain't do that. I'm not successful because they supported me. I could look at Masjid Muhammad now and look at it back then when the bulk of the money that my wife and I was making, it did not come from members of the Masjid Muhammad community. There's one brother in there that I recall, Albert Sabir. He's the executive director now for the Masjid Muhammad. He's the only brother that ever brought his daughter in to get his hair done on a consistent basis. I ain't get no support from nowhere else. Imam Tariq, assalamu alaikum. I'm sorry I took up as much time as I did, but I recognize you as being a leader in our community, and I pray Allah continue to grant you success in all your endeavors. Alhamdulillah, yeah, he stepped away. So I'll step off with that, and because many of us are actually coming up on Dua. I know I'm past it.
Why don't you just go
past
ahead and close this out then? And those that want to stay can stay, but why don't you go ahead and close this out?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا حسنة في الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Oh Allah, give us good in this world, good in the after, and protect us from the torment of the fire that you have told us is made up of men and stones. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All right, y'all. Yeah, I took some notes, and I'm going to be trying to transcribe some of that into a khutbah, even one for myself, because I found the connection. I had a conversation with a brother a couple of 3 weeks ago. He and I were reflecting on, and he encouraged me through that conversation that I should develop a khutbah around it. And that was a khutbah on love. Because what he and I recognized was that the era in which we came up in, even with the differences we had amongst ourselves, there was a certain love that we had for each other that has only grown to this day. That we're no longer doing the types of things that help us develop that love for each other. Being in the same environment, appreciating doing the same things, as wrong as it was, we still had enough love for each other that has carried us over, and it's not lost on us that Allah called a few of us, because we just discovered another young boy that was with us when we was coming up on out in that in what we call Jalaliya. Allah guided us all in that same direction. But with that love being the first part, and this discussion here being the second, I've got an opportunity, to develop a khutbah, even if I don't have the opportunity to give it. Because when you put yourself in a position of calling yourself an imam, that requires you to stay ready. Because you never know when you're going to be called. When you're going to be called on to give a khutbah, to do a janazah, to do a nikah, or any anything that someone in the community may call you to do. That it don't always have to be the leader in charge. There's a reason why several communities will have more than one imam. Because the congregation may have members who feel more comfortable talking to Imam so-and-so than they would the resident imam. Because that imam that you want to bring your issue to may be more attuned to what it is that you are feeling you need to address him in order to help you recognize your own, what does Allah call it? Your own shakila, your own disposition. So I mean, all of us have value, whether you're a resident imam or not. So I just want to be one of those who's prepared in case that opportunity comes. And if it doesn't, there is always the opportunity for you to offer dawah to either a Muslim or a non-Muslim that comes from that khutbah. And Allah blessed me to have that experience the other day, speaking to a Hispanic brother on growth and development, where I made him realize that, our whole purpose for being on earth is to grow. And if you don't see that, that's going to be your lesson for the day. And he was grateful for it, alhamdulillah. So with that, y'all, I'm out. May Allah continue to bless you all and your families. Ameen. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
I mean, well, brothers, Brother Rabbani, Brother Hassan.
Okay.
It's been a moment this morning and afternoon now for many of you and myself. It is now afternoon here in the great state of Texas. But good discussion this morning, today. But I mean, I'm 100% on Graceline having an understanding of who our community is so we can better serve them for a long time. And I do think we need to have as much information as possible about those that we intend to serve as we can get. You may not get all that information, but intentions matter. So as much information as we can get, it's going to give us a better chance to be able to offer service. And I hate the fact that we didn't get a chance to talk to Omar about how the seminar went this past Tuesday. And again, for those that still have the information, seminar number 3, financial freedom, comes up this coming Tuesday. So as Imam Hassan has done and hopefully continues to do, let's get that information back out there to as many people as we possibly can. And hopefully the participation continues to grow in those seminars as maybe, people come now with the resources to be able to pay in full or pay partial or whatever the case may be to be able to participate in those seminars. So get that information out there, and we will hope for the best success for those seminars. Rabbani, anything you got to add this today before we go? Well, if not, if that is it, then we will sign off for the day. Brother Hassan, thank you for being here, and thank you for the words of wisdom that you imparted this morning, your experiences, and what you continue to experience, and your, just the way that you look at things, informative. And we thank you for that.
Thank you.
So we will look forward to catching you brothers on other programs during the week. And inshallah, we'll all be back here on next Sunday. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.